LAWsome by ConsultWebs. Breakthrough insights to build a thriving law firm with your host, Tanner Jones.
Hello, all you LAWsome listeners. Today on the show, we're talking with Margeaux Thomas, attorney and founder at the Thomas Law Office. Margeaux has more than 15 years of experience representing people and small businesses in class action lawsuits, complicated commercial litigation, and real estate disputes in Virginia, Maryland, and the D.C. area. She specializes in commercial landlord and tenant disputes, business partnership disputes, as well as contract disputes. She currently serves as the vice chair of the Fairfax Bar Association Continuing Legal Education Committee, where she arranges, plans, and interacts with attorneys to ensure that they're present and can benefit from the continuing legal education material. She founded the Thomas Law Office in 2016 and has held numerous Bar Association positions, and she served on various nonprofit boards. Margeaux has been recognized in the Super Lawyers Rising Stars edition from 2013 all the way to 2023, and by the Northern Virginia Magazine as top lawyer for 2022. Today's topic is building a successful solo practice. So welcome, Margeaux. Thanks for joining the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Let's start with you, learning a little bit more about you and getting some context about your history. Do you mind telling us a little bit about your experience and specifically your journey in starting your own law firm?
Yeah, so I went straight through college and law school. I didn't take a break, and then I went to a bigger regional firm and practiced there for many years before I tell this story a lot. I got pregnant with twins, and I had a very tumultuous pregnancy, which ended up having a long hospital stay and a lot of complications. And then my kids went to the NICU, and that whole experience just kind of like changes your perspective on life. And I always kind of wanted to go out on my own and hang a shingle. But, I was very happy in the firm that I was at. I mean, there was a lot of great people. I learned a lot from them. So I had, this conflict. But, that experience just made me, take the leap, so to speak, or, push to that goal because, I just didn't want to leave anything on the table or feel like I regretted not taking, the leap of faith and starting this on my own. And I knew that I was going to have to leave a level of comfort that I had there to do this. And I think just having my whole world kind of change in that situation just gave me the confidence to do that. So I started this 7 years ago. Our 7-year anniversary was a few months ago. Mm-hmm. And, I'm loving it. I'm loving this journey.
I love that. I love every entrepreneur's story. Do you find, or did you find in growing up that you had an entrepreneurial spirit? I mean, did you have a desire to run your own business at an early age, or did it more come gradually as you started into your law career?
That's a great question because my dad was an educator and my mom worked for the Plain Dealer, which is a newspaper in Ohio. And both of them worked at their job for like 40 years and had a very linear job. They weren't entrepreneurs. And, my brother, I have one brother who started a nonprofit and is the executive director of that. And just seeing him, we started our businesses at the same time, and seeing him scale this to a multi-million-dollar enterprise is like, there must have been something in our childhood that sparked this desire to, build something. And, I talked to him a lot throughout this journey. We have a lot in common about what we're doing and, the challenges and obstacles and hurdles and things like that. And he's like, even when I retire, I feel like I'm going to be on the board of the retirement community because I just can't help it. It's in my blood. And I feel that same way. It's just hard for me to sit by and not be a promoter of entrepreneurship. And, everyone I meet, I'm trying to get them to start their own business. And, there must be something that sparked that. And I think our parents were very into education and giving us a lot of opportunities through education. And I think that in that path, there must have been something there.
Do you know how many cases you're signing from your marketing investment each month? If you want to diagnose the status of your firm's marketing efforts, then the LAWsome Podcast has a gift for you. Discover the best and the most unique legal marketing solutions available today using the Decision-Making Handbook's free printable criteria. Claim your copy in the bio below. No doubt. I think that's important too, to look back and recognize, some of those things that built us, those roots. I'd like to dig in a little bit further on specifically the skill sets that are involved in starting a practice. Naturally, building a successful law practice requires a lot of unique skill sets and qualities, some of which are naturally learned in law school. Others are maybe just learned through failures or, mistakes in the business. What would you say are some of the main skill sets or qualities that have been valuable for you in running your practice, or as you mentioned earlier, kind of taking that initial leap of faith into your own practice?
So, that's a great question. I love what you said about failure because Les Brown has this a motto about failing your way to greatness. And, I kind of embody that because there are so many mistakes that will be made along the way. And like learning from those mistakes, learning when to pivot, trying not to make those mistakes again, I think is like a skill set that, you kind of have to develop on the fly and learn from it. And that was something that I didn't really have before starting this. I mean, I didn't really need to have it. When I was working at a firm, just being able to practice law, not even bringing in clients, but just being able to do the legal work was like the key indicator of success.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that you can be successful running a law firm just being a very good lawyer. But I think it's very difficult to scale your law firm and bring in people and have other people buy into your vision and sell it with the same enthusiasm that you do is a whole different skill. And it's not based upon how good a lawyer you are, how good a brief you can write, how good a, trial you can put on. That's a totally different skill. And I think that for me, just being around a lot of people. So in my practice, I primarily deal with small business owners, right? And they're very successful at what they do. And I've learned so much from my clients because they have been able to teach me so much about how they got to where they are, and the failures that they have went through and how they recovered from those things. And, I just feel like they have been the biggest guide and mentor to me throughout this business is just my own clients, which is fascinating.
That's important, and I think it's valuable to recognize that too. I mean, some attorneys may feel like they're vulnerable in that, like talking about failure and the concept of failing forward. But I think it's such a breath of fresh air to hear that from you and hear the growth that comes from that. You alluded to business owners wearing a lot of hats, and you kind of mentioned not even the marketing or the business side, the business development, but I'd like to come into that topic in particular, pivoting into the marketing side, because naturally running your own business, a great lawyer with no clients is not a very effective lawyer at the end of the day. You need business. And so I'd like to hear what has been your strategy when it comes to marketing. What have you done in the early stages? What are you doing now to help grow your business and ensure that has remained a top priority?
So at the beginning, it was very much about word of mouth and just reaching out to everyone I had ever met in life and say, I just started this law firm. This is what we do. And if you know anybody that needs this, please send them our way. And that was very effective. Even though I don't feel like I knew that many people, I'm not from the DC area, but, just talking to some people and they would give you a name of somebody else and calling that person and going to lunch with them was my sole marketing strategy when I started this. And, referrals are great, are great for growing a firm. And they can take you very far. I mean, some people run their law firms completely on word of mouth and referrals.
Sure.
But, after a while, I realized that, there are a lot of really good rainmakers. I'm not sure if I'm particular, like I would put myself in that category, but like associating with people who are very good rainmakers and can give you know you and trust you and can send you a lot of referrals has been epic for me being able to grow my firm. Like being able to identify those people and just kind of being around them and being in their circles and, trying to learn from them and grow from them and be a part of what they're building has been extremely helpful. Lawyers are the biggest source of referrals for what we do because a lot of small business owners have encountered a lawyer at some point along the way that they know and trust. And we have a very niche area. So knowing their general attorney who can refer this niche problem to us has been extremely helpful. So, figuring out where those people are. And then at some point, you have to realize that having multiple streams of marketing is better than having one. If you're relying totally on referrals, referrals can be somewhat, they're not always steady. It just kind of depends on where people are. But having like digital marketing and bringing in that element to add to the referrals has been also a game changer. I was never one that knew a lot about Google ads and SEO and website. That's like a different language to me. It certainly wasn't in law school. That wasn't something that came naturally to me. And then finding someone who could help me with that and add that piece has certainly been very helpful. And I think essential marketing component if you really want to scale your firm.
Every year we make predictions about legal marketing trends that will affect hundreds of thousands of lawyers across the country. If you've been looking to reach new clients, stay informed, or gain a competitive advantage in your market area, this is your opportunity. Unlock the secrets of success with this exclusive PDF that reveals some of the top legal marketing trends in the industry today. Claim your copy in the bio below. Yeah, I'd like to come back to that digital topic in a moment, but let's spend a minute on the referral side, because you're right. Word of mouth, I mean, that has been the tried and true marketing strategy for all business owners, but especially in the legal sector. This is so valuable. But I'd like to dig into this just a little bit, if you may. Help me understand, kind of in that process, what have you learned in identifying the right influencers? Because I think in talking with a lot of law firms, they all recognize that referrals are important. Word of mouth is powerful, but maybe they have, 1,000+ contacts and they're just struggling with, where do I even start? How do I know who's going to be effective or more effective, if you will, than another contact? Any recommendations or things that you've learned in finding the best possible contacts to really nurture from a referral standpoint?
I think for me, it was just identifying the lawyers who would have the type of clients that I need. I think it just started with that. Like criminal lawyers don't tend to have as many contacts with small business owners who are, suing a business partner to separate. Is it possible that they will have that referral? Yes. But is it more likely that a transactional lawyer who doesn't do any litigation is going to, their client's going to call them back and be like, yeah, you helped us set up this business, but now my business partner and I don't get along. What are we going to do now? That lawyer doesn't step into court, doesn't want to, ever. So, it's just identifying what that source was. At the beginning, I didn't know what that source was. I was reaching out to financial planners and accountants. Accountants should be a great referral source, right? They deal with a lot of business owners. They have a ton of business owner clients. I get like this many referrals from accountants. I don't know why. I don't know why that is, but it sounded good in my head. But when I was like reaching out to people, you kind of realize like these are the people who have the cases and can refer them. These are the best referral sources. So I think that was a lot of trial and error and reaching out to people and then identifying the key people. And then I think that when you go to lunch with those people or you go to coffee with them, like you can tell in that conversation whether they're the type who believes in abundance and wants to bring as many people around them that they believe in and want to help them and get everybody to the next level, or they're the type of person who's like, I want to hold on to everything that I've got for dear life and I'm not looking beyond, what I have. I'm a huge believer in abundance. I think there are so many cases out there for everybody and we can help each other in this journey. Everybody can eat, right? But, it's just like, I can identify that trait very quickly because I've probably been on 8 billion lunches at this point. But, I kind of gravitate to those people who, are very optimistic. There are a lot of lawyers who hate their job. Like it's Sunday and they like dread going to work on Monday. And, I love my job. And if it's going to be like depressing to you to hear me talk about how much I love my job, then this probably isn't going to be the best relationship. I want to work with people who love what they do. They love helping their clients. They're in this for the long run and they want to, help the people around them. So I think it's easy to identify those people once you're in that environment. And I found so many people that, meet that criteria. I want to be around people who have the same values and as I do. And, you have to identify what those values are for yourself. Ethics is high on my list of things. Like I want to do the right thing even if no one's watching. And I want to be around people who feel the same way. So, it's very easy to connect with people when you have that same value structure. And, people want to help people. So I'm trying to identify those people.
That makes so much sense, Margeaux. And really, there are a few things that I heard there that I think are important to stress. One being, In the beginning, if you're building your book of business and you're unsure, maybe you're asking yourself similar questions, just like Margeaux suggested, the idea is that you may not have the perfect idea right away. Meet as many people as you can, make obvious connections in your head in terms of their own networks and what makes sense. But at the end of the day, it's a matter of just continuously optimizing, continuing to find those pockets that have been successful for you and pursuing those. And the big thing from our standpoint is looking back and having historical records, like tracking, who's sending you referrals, what's signing up, and being intentional about knowing specifically what is driving the business so that you can also reward that. You can be intentional about nurturing those relationships. But you hit on so many valuable things there, Margeaux. I appreciate you sharing a little bit about, how you generated the success you've done on the word of mouth.
Measure what matters. Measure what matters.
Measure what matters.
Yeah.
So, I'm curious. Let's spend a minute there too. Measure what matters. Anything in the business that you found is important, maybe even an oversight that looking back, it's like, wow, that was definitely an area I could have been more intentional about measuring. Any experiences in that respect?
So I think that a lot of people, and myself included, approached word to mouth marketing as like just set up coffees and go, and it's just like this haphazard thing. But somebody introduced me very early on to like the CRM and like tracking who you're meeting with, and putting in details about those people, like how many kids they have, things you have in common, things that have allowed you to build rapport, because I have a particularly terrible memory. And without tracking those things and writing them down, I would have no idea. Like, I'm terrible with names. I don't know. I would never remember your kids' names or their birthdays. But people, like that. They want you to, they respond positively to when you're able to say, oh, your kid must have just had a birthday because their birthday is around my kid's birthday or something like that. So, I got very intentional about tracking how many of those coffees I was going on and how many referrals those people sent me, and, just things about their lives that I wanted to remember, or things that we had in common. And instead of just, just going out there and meeting with whoever, I think tracking that and how many of those people ended up being referral sources, so that I could narrow down on what was the most effective.
Hiring an outside marketing agency can take your firm's business truly to the next level. But having to compare and contrast different legal vendors out there can be a rather overwhelming and complicated process. So we'd like to help you with that. That's why we've created this free digital vendor checklist. It's going to give you the tools and, more importantly, the confidence needed to truly evaluate and vet the potential vendors out there. It's going to help you understand specifically their legal marketing expertise, team qualifications, what they can and cannot do, types of services they offer, and expectations of those services, proof of success. Have they been there before? Have they helped other similar law firms like yours? And arguably, more importantly, your digital ownership rights related to working with them and what you own or do not own. Claim your free printable checklist in the comments below. So let's move into the digital topic, because that every business owner is in a different stage of growth. Some law firm owners very well may never even turn the corner on digital marketing because they're thriving so well on the word of mouth and the referral side. But I'd be interested to hear from you, looking back at over the last several years of your business. Have there been stepping stones, if you will, in terms of, taking one step in growth and then looking at the next layer of business development, specifically on the marketing side? How have you looked at that, and how have you essentially layered on additional forms of business development in the digital world?
So I think that mindset is a big part of all of this. And when I've met a lot of attorneys that look down upon digital marketing, and they feel like referrals that come from the internet are not great, and they're going to be like a waste of your time, not good clients, things like that. And I think that even the idea of doing ads to get referrals or leads is frowned upon by a lot of attorneys who are very old school about how business should be generated. Even the idea of thinking about the practice of law as any other service industry, is kind of frowned upon by some. They're like, this is not widgets. This is not, this is the practice of law. Like, this is so much different than any other service industry out there. And I think that getting past that mindset was huge for me, because, there's nothing particularly wrong with that, but that's not really how I see it. I do see this as a service industry like many other service industries, and we're all trying to provide, put our client through this process and get them to this end result, just like any other, service industry. And I think that digital marketing is a great vehicle that can be used to do that. And I just had to get past the, website leads are terrible thought process that a lot of people believe, because I don't think that is true. There are a lot of successful business owners who go to Google to find an attorney when they have a particular problem. I go to Google to find service people for a lot of different issues that come up in our lives, and I found a lot of great people through the internet. I think that Google My Business and reviews are great for evaluating people or helping us evaluate people on the internet. So I think that without that piece of being able to reach out to a broader audience beyond my referral network has been huge. So I can't say that I have mastered Google Ads and all of that, but I have, let's say, put my toe into that pool, and a growing majority of our cases are coming from just our website and Zooms and podcasts. I do a lot of podcasts and things like that we put on the internet, and it has driven a lot of business to my firm that we otherwise wouldn't have.
You hit on something I think is so important, and that's blind spots. Every lawyer, every business owner out there has their own blind spots, and what I mean by that is it's easy to kind of keep the horse blinders on and know what we know and have our own assumptions of other things, but to actually spend time and looking or considering some of those other things, we allow some of these lies or things that we've told ourselves just to be truth in our own heads and continue the course. But it's people like you, I believe, Margeaux, who have taken that leap of faith, that have essentially had a paradigm shift around such an important thing like marketing. I recall a client of ours over 8 years ago when they first called in and were talking to us. Over 95% of their cases came through referrals and word of mouth. They had built their business on their reputation, on having coffees and lunches, everything you've mentioned so far. And naturally, there was a lot of pessimism around the idea of marketing online and, what does that do to our own brand and our reputation? And surely there are no high-quality leads coming through. Well, fast forward to today, because they were willing to take that leap of faith and they were willing to look at a blind spot. Now over 60% of their cases are funneling through the website every single month. And they're still continuing to build their book of business through referrals and word of mouth, but that's how much exponential they've grown through the web. And so I applaud you for seeing that. I would ask you any advice that you would give for a lawyer, looking back in some of your earlier days and starting your practice, a lawyer who may be hesitant to step into the world of digital marketing. Any suggestions for them?
Just start. That's my suggestion. I think that we have so many things in our heads that hold us back from trying things. Like, it may not be perfect. All these, barriers, prevent us from exploring things. And there's a lot that can be learned, on the go while doing it, on the job training, so to speak. And I feel like that's been my path. I was really scared for my first hire. I didn't know what to do and how to train them and what did onboarding look like and what were they going to do all day? Like, did I have enough work for them and could I pay them? I mean, there was just all these uncertainties. I'd never done it. I'd never hired anybody. And then, somebody was just like, the first is always the hardest, right? You just get through that and it'll be so much easier. You will learn, you will figure it out, and you're never going to have the answer to all those questions on the front end. Mm-hmm. And, it bothers me to an extent when I talk to people who are like, yeah, I want to do this, but there's 8 billion things that need to fall in place before I take that first step. And I'm just like, just take the first step, worry about that, and you will find that with a lot of entrepreneurs. They have this confidence that allows them to go into this abyss that they don't know and learn on the way, and I think that is what makes them successful entrepreneurs, the ability to do that.
Hey there. Perhaps most don't associate lawyers with the social media platform TikTok, but I would encourage you to think again if that's you. The reason being is TikTok is now the #1 most engaging social media platform on the market. It presents truly a lucrative opportunity for lawyers who know how to use it and use it effectively. If you're interested in leveraging TikTok for your law office, grab the free resource in the comments below. I would agree. I would agree. It's that iceberg concept where the public only sees, that success that's poking out at the very top, but it's all the failures and the mistakes and the attempts in the early stages that are, under the surface that no one else sees, but it's what it takes. And so I would agree. I 100% agree with you. It's just taking that step. So if you're wrestling with something like that, take the step, fail forward. Margeaux, I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I'd like to end, kind of wrap this conversation up around the concept of scaling a business. So, you've already hit on this concept of, some of the important early decisions you've made as a business. And as you get that foundation under you as a business owner of a law firm, naturally you put yourself in a position to start making bigger and better decisions as a business owner. So can you walk through some of the steps you've taken to expand your practice, specifically the goal of taking on more clients, but while not compromising the quality of your legal services? How has that looked?
So I was listening to one of your prior podcasts about delegation, and I think a lot of it stems from that. And not only just delegating in the law firm, but delegating in your personal life. So I have a business coach who wrote a book called The Personal Assistant Advantage, and it's just all about getting people to help you and the tolerances in your personal life that are taking away from your ability to exceed at work or give everything to whatever you're building in your business. And, I didn't think about how many of those tolerances there were or how much stress I had based upon administrative things that were just like falling. Like I was not taking care of them. My kids were going to school on, dress up day and their uniforms. They had practices I was missing. They had bake sales. I'm like, it's midnight and I'm like at the store. I'm like, this is chaotic. Like I cannot juggle all these things. And in my mindset was, everybody's a mother and a business owner and like everybody's doing this. Like there's no reason I can't, right? And then when I read this book, I was like, why am I spreading myself so thin? There is somebody who could do this better than me. Somebody who loves this administrative stuff that I'm terrible at, right? That's right. And I don't feel less of a parent because I have delegated scheduling and signing up for camps and, just putting on my calendar everywhere that I need to be for all of these things so that I don't forget them. And I think that has allowed me to be more intentional about the things that I do at work and be able to, make decisions and not be so stressed out and be, just clearer in what is going on. So I know that a lot of people talk about delegation in the law firm and finding good attorneys and staff, but I think that there's a bigger picture which has to do with, your personal life, because that has a big effect on, what's happening in your law firm. So finding that piece, finding an executive assistant who can juggle all of those things without, those being stressors on your life, I think has been huge for me. And being able to expand my practice and take on bigger cases and more complex issues, and just think about strategy at a higher level because I don't have that weighing on me.
Margeaux stepping on some toes today. On mine in particular, we just got to take action. That's what it comes down to. I absolutely love it. Margeaux, for those that are wanting to reach out to you, what's the best way that they can contact you?
Email mthomas@thomaslawplc.com. Our website is thomaslawplc.com, and I'm all over LinkedIn. So if you want to send me a connection request, I'd love to connect with you on that platform.
LAWsome by ConsultWebs with Tanner Jones. For show notes, links, and info, go to consultwebs.com/podcast. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a review. Watch for the next LAWsome episode to discover more breakthrough insights to build a thriving law firm.